Well, boys, we're back with another video, and I've had a lot of requests for this one. People really like spell rotation videos, or just guides. This works for me as a 120 necro with max AA, grinding mobs, not pet tanking, focused on doing a lot of DPS, but not full maximizing my DPS because I do need pet rune, pet heal. So for a normal, Night of Shadows mob, I want to be at around 400,000 to 500,000 DPS, and then Jobber will probably throw on another 50 to 100, because you've got to grind through so many for hunter achievements and for faction work and for collections. So the last thing you want is to be sitting around just wasting 5 to 6 minutes on each kill. And so because of that, I use two sets. I have a wounds line where the first spell I cast is infected wounds, and then I have a blood line where the first spell in my slot is proc for blood. I'm just going to go over my proc for blood line. I think people can figure out wounds. You cast it and then you swap it out. I don't use wounds in tier 2 zones. For me it's a waste. I use it in tier 1 because so many of the mobs in tier 1 have a just absurd amount of hit points. So the lineup that I have in order 1 through 13 is proc for blood. It's direct damage. It has the ability to randomly proc a effect that increases our spell damage significantly. It also has a standard, I think it's 20% increase in damage. The double disease spell from the NOS expansion, Fleshrot's Grip of Decay, is number 2. Number 3 is their big Pyre. Number 4 is Extinction. 5 and 6 are the 2 poisons, Venom and Haze. Then I have 2 fires, Small Pyre and Shadow. Then I have Ignite. And now I use Twilight Leach, composite. I have it, I think, maxed out to level 4 now. I just haven't switched it back to test it. But when you have a composite spell that is, really under level 4, composite doesn't have the benefit of any focus items because it's a 250 level spell. So you don't really want to use it until you get it with significant damage, so when it crits it does hit big. But I've had a lot of logs, and it's to me it's debatable. To most necros online, they just say, oh, it's trash, don't ever use it. Sometimes in burns, when you're at 100% crit, it parses out a little higher than the lower end, the 9 and the 10 spell. Spell number 11 is our Swarm Pets. Very, very valuable, not just for DPS, but for tying up ads if you have them. Then you have Pet Rune and Pet Heal. One thing I've found that can be very helpful is when you're grinding mobs and a name's not going to show up, like you're doing faction work or something. You'll want to use robes immediately on the first mob. On the second mob, you use Spire, and usually by the time you're starting or in the middle of your third fight, Robes is back up because it's a 5-minute cooldown. So I'm not going to do that for this video. Let me see what I have. It's pretty clear. I'll clear it out again. We'll just pull this Spirit. I spent some time, spent a lot of time grinding, and I finished the full list. I got all the faction done, so I'm not gonna kill this mob for faction purposes. I don't have any quests going, but this is just a good standard NOS mob, so I'm gonna use it. Sometimes you have to worry in NOS that the mobs are under the, I don't know what you call it, mission or raid protocol, where they just attack whoever's closest, and that can be a problem with pets, especially if you have a dumb merc like I do who will get in front of me for some reason. But anyway, we're gonna kind of hug this left side here, tag with scent, make sure it comes by itself, and then hit darkness, and then we'll start the fight. We'll send Jobber and Grip, Big Pyre. We're just going to go down the dot list. Again, I'm not going to use robes. I'm just going to do this as a standard fight. This Jobber, I think, has a damage shield and some buffs, a couple of TOL tradable weapons, but, you know, there's not a lot of DPS addition from Jobber. This is really... Okay, so the full dots are on and we're starting to get blinks on 3 and 4, but I go ahead and throw Skells, I hit proc, and now I'm starting back over, which is going to be Big Pyre and Extinction, 3 and 4. Next up will be 5 and 6, the 2 Venoms, and then at that point, usually it's 9, Ignite, but this is when you just need to, you know your spells. So I'll hit 9, I go back now to 2 because we're getting some blinks. Next up will be 3 and 4 again. You know your spells. You've done this 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, so you should know your order. For me, anytime I see a blink, I'm going to recast. And when I get a chance, I throw another set of Swarm. I throw another proc out there in the hopes of getting it, which I did, so that's great. I see that 9 and 0 are blinking. It's just constant recast for me when I'm grinding mobs. I don't ever want to see any slots show up, holes where I'm missing a spell. So I'll do 5 and 6. And now at this point, 8 is blinking, which is Scalding Shadow. It's one of the longer spells. I don't recast it. By now, we're kind of winding down. I'll usually throw, as like a finisher, another set of Skells. I'll hit proc one more time. And then at that point, I hit Invis and I sit down and I let it, you know, fade away. We're going to probably end this with 500,000 DPS. We'll take a look. Spirit of Strength, 70 million, which is pretty standard. 537,985. That's 475 from me, another 70 from the big Jobber. Well, he's not that big, but from Jobber out there helping out. So that's it, boys. That's the lineup I use. I'm pretty consistent with 450, 500, 550. Like I said, if you want to speed things up, you can use robes for the first fight. I click it usually after I go 2, 3 robes, and then I run it through. It doesn't last the whole fight, obviously. It wears off, but it gives you a good boost. The second fight, you know, I'll pull the mob, and then I'll hit 2, and then I'll hit Spire and go through the lineup. If you've got the option, you know, pick up Restless Focus Potion. That helps a little. If you want to, you know, use some of our AAs, if you want to throw out our 120 robe and get some direct damage by using Consuming Magic. I mean, there are other things you can do, but the general lineup that gets things done that I use, I'll go through it one last time. Grip, Big Pyre, Extinction, 2 poisons, the next 2 fires, Ignite, and I use Leech. That's it, guys. You know, I have max focus. I have tier 2 arms. I don't have trade skill yet. That fire is 105 to 120. I don't know if trade skill bumps it up to like 110 to 125 or something. I don't know, but that's it, guys. You know, any questions or if you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. Everybody likes to talk spell lineup. Hope this video helps you guys with yours, and I'll see you all in the next video.